So this is a video showing what I've done for the viewer and the converter for Game Engine 2. So first for the converter, just open it up. I have it so that it uses basically the extern setup that we were given in class. I have a couple of checks there in order to check the arguments. It's nothing big, but it works for the purposes of this demo. I need to further make it so that it is more robust and handles more different types of inputs. So it gets each mesh, and for each mesh it pairs it with the texture and then packages them together all into a final package of your choice. I'm not using the archiver, and instead I have this package header, which, while trying to get this to work for models that have multiple parts, I would have the center and radius inside this package header, which would show the entire thing. Then I have an ATC header, which is just my header for combining or showing the model file and the texture file and which ones go together. And then they each have their own headers, which will then be unpacked accordingly. So in order to run the batch file, you need to build it first. So I build it, then I go into models, delete the temps, then convert them to demo, which, if you want to see what it looks like, it's just a very simple run it and then put it out to the files I want. And that will create the files that I want to put into my engine, which I have as .pack files, which, just to make it easier, I move them all to this other folder, and then I stick them in my engine, and I stick it in that folder called file backup here, because how I have my engine currently running is it pulls all the files from this folder first and then cleans up all the files in here. So in order to start the engine, you need to go to here and make sure it's times 86 and then build them all so that you can get all your libraries, which you then copy over using copy to libs. So you have all your libs, and then go into the engine, and I need to clean it. But going in here, I have code to set up 5 cameras, and then here's where you load the models, add the textures, create the shaders, the standard stuff, and then here is where I create my models from the pack files that I show. So I put this into my custom model, which is in here, and what that does is it will take in the file name and it will find the extension, and then I can unpack it according to which extension it has, in which case I unpack the file name here, which all it does is opens it up for each chunk that the header says it has. It will okay, for now the multiple part isn't working, so it's just when it has one chunk. So it just reads it in, creates the ATC file and the TGA file, and then initializes the bounding sphere, adds texture, and I'm trying to get it to add the default transform, but it's not working quite how I want it to. Regardless, you can just unpack it specifically by creating a custom model from this. I also have it so that you get your texture IDs like this, and you put in a texture ID instead of referencing the texture name, but it essentially works the same way, it's just a slight difference. Anyways, to show the engine working, I'm just gonna run it. And as you can see, you can instance the objects and they will move just to show from a further out view. As they go outside of the box or the camera, the bounding spheres turn red. When they go back in, they turn green again. And you can turn the bounding spheres off, turn them back on again, off, on, easy switches. Right now I have it pause the motion so that I can zoom in, turn off the bounding boxes, and you can see the models just going by. The buggy, for some reason, you just see through the bottom and it looks weird, but all the other models just look how they look. Here's the buggy, it looks normal from the top, but for some reason, when you get down below, then you can see through it. I haven't figured out why exactly, but that is how it is right now. And for some reason right now still I need to fix it, but when you spin around this axis, the bounding spheres turn inside out. But I will fix that in the future. So that's the buggy model. This is the crash model, which you can see. Then you've got the Space Frigate and Astro Boy, you can see over to the left. Then you've got Warbear, which you can have two different kinds of textures, and if you really want to, you can swap the textures around. And then on top of that, there is the uninitialized texture, which when something is uninitialized, that is what it will look like. And as you can see, you can't see, but you press the buttons 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 in order to switch to these different views. It is N or M in order to start or stop the motion, B and V in order to turn on and off the bounding spheres, R, T, and Y in order to swap between the different texture layouts that I currently have. And then in camera 4, you can press arrow keys to move, to look around like that, or you can move left and right with WASD and move forward and back. So that is currently how that looks like. So each bounding sphere has the name and it references the object that it's around. It is the bounding sphere class that you gave, and the bounding spheres are currently calculated inside the converter, which you can see because I have the center and vex inside the headers, and it just passes those in and reads them. And that shows basically I also need to show I guess that basically shows the cameras work off of the camera manager class that you gave us and swaps between them in the same way. I currently have it so that the camera model will only move on key 4 because that is just how I have it set up in the input. And I call it the free camera, which is just added onto the enum. And for now, all the demo stuff I just have by iterating through the game object manager in order to decide whether or not I want to rotate them and stuff like that. Alright, so that basically shows what I have done in terms of the viewer and the converter.